while back I disassembled the spindle of my vintage Karger lathe, so I could machine a V-groove into the round leather belt pulley. Now this job is done and it is time to reassemble the spindle. But before I start reassembling, I'm going to try and see if I can clean up these rough journals here. I want to mount the spindle in the lathe so I can polish up the journals, but before I can do this I need to clean up this edge here. There is some damage and it's pretty sharp and it will damage my live center. So I'm going to well, try and remove the burr with my Dremel. And I'll do this off camera because I don't see nothing. As you can see, I've got the spindle mounted and I'm using a bit of copper shim stock to protect the thread on the end of the spindle. Before I start polishing, let's have a quick look at the current state of the journals. Here's a look at the rear journal. And this whole part here is the journal. Normally the spindle would ride over here, but when threading it will move up to here. And here's the front bearing journal. And obviously it's a little worse than the rear, but I guess that is kind of expected since it's taking more of the load. That's a nasty spot over here. There's also a bit of damage here on the part that's only used for threading. I'm going to use this broken hardstone file to try and polish up this journal, and I only want to remove those sharp edges. I don't want to take anything off the OD. And I'm hoping that by removing these sharp edges here, I'm improving the flow of oil through the bearing. I can feel the drag is getting less. There's one spot that I can feel hitting the stone every revolution. Well, I'm going to do this for a while and then I'll switch to the front journal. I'm pretty much done polishing and I don't think I can get it any better. This spot over here was really bad. I think some third-party object got into the bearing. But I don't feel that spot hitting the stone anymore. So I think it is as good as I will get it. From side to side here it's still pretty rough. Now I'm going to clean up this paint here so I can run a dial indicator against it. I still have a problem with this round nut that locks the pulley in place. It only threads on there till about this far, and I have no way of grabbing the spindle tight enough to force it further on there. The thread here seems to be pretty good, and I have ground out those damaged spots. So I think the problem is with the nut. It feels like there is some damage here. Well, not much I can do about that. Let's hope for the best. So here's the next problem. This nut here doesn't want to go on any further, and I think I will need to chamfer it on the inside here. And there was no washer between the nut and the template here, and because of this there was some damage to the rear of the nut here, which I grounded out. So I will need to make a washer now. Well, let's try it again. Well, that didn't do it. I took another cut and it still won't go on. I just about had it with all those stupid threads on this spindle. I don't see anything wrong with the threads. Stupid old junk. On the plus side, I did find a washer that almost fits perfectly, so that saves a little work. I'm almost ready to put things back together, but before I do that, I want to remove these oil cups and give them a good cleaning. And I will also give you a look at the inside of the bearings here. They're pretty loose. I can see some dirt down there. I think it's grease mixed with some ruster. At least that's what it looks like. I'm gonna give that a good cleaning now. Weird looking oil cup. The inside here looks like a flared brake line. And why is this piece missing here? Strange. I removed the paint here. It was basically just laying on top, completely loose. There is some junk in here on the threads. Could be for taking up slop in the threads, because the thread looks a bit worn here. And if you look further down, and it's probably impossible to catch on the camera, the thread seems to change in color. A bit copperish. Could be a helicoil, but I find that hard to believe. Anyway, lots of junk in there. I'm gonna do some cleaning now. I upgraded to a rougher brush, and I almost got most of the rotten, rusty cast iron thread out of there. Drilling it out would have been a better solution, but then I would also have to press out the bearing races, and I don't feel like doing that, at least not for now. The pitch on this cup is 1.5, and as you can see it is pretty loose in here, and they used this O-ring to seal it off. And if I'm not mistaken, the thread on here is tapered. I don't think the thread in here is tapered, so they do not really match very well. I cleaned both oil cups and reinstalled them. For now I will continue using them because I don't have a better option. Now I'm going to disassemble this dovetailed part here because there is some dirt in here, and that could come in contact with the spindle bearing. Here you can see that there's quite a bit of dirt in there, and it really can use a bit of a cleaning. I removed this little screw, and I expect it will slide off. Bit rusty, but it doesn't look too bad. I'll clean it up now and reassemble it. This little lever here is spring loaded and pushes the dovetailed part up, and it's only held together with this screw here. It won't go up any further than this. Push it down and tighten up this lever, and it stays in place. Here's a look inside the front bearing. It feels pretty smooth, nothing that catches my nail. There's an oil groove on the top here. I can feel a little ripple. It's not much, but it is there. The front bearing is actually better than the rear, and that's surprising considering the front journal had more damage than the rear journal. And this here is the rear bearing. Near the front of the headstock I can feel some damage. I think it might catches my nail, but no, it doesn't. A bit of oil is probably a good idea. I was considering using some kind of molybdenum grease on the spindle. Get a couple of those grease spots that when you screw them in, it presses the grease into the bearing. Maybe some CV joint grease is a good choice, and it's not really very thick. What do you guys think? Any thoughts on this? I don't think using molybdenum grease on a bronze spindle is a good idea, but for this all steel spindle it might be perfect. I don't know, maybe I just mix a bag of CV joint grease with some hydraulic fluid to make it a bit thicker. That would be a nice cocktail for an old lathe like this. I'll clean up the taper and then try to more or less ram these parts together. Hopefully that's tight enough. Now we have to do some thread cutting. So we need some cutting fluid. And that's as far as it goes. And now I gotta force this on there. Hopefully the taper won't break loose. So far it's pretty easy. Yeah, there it begins. Oh boy. Oh man. I'm going to work it forward backwards for a while. See what happens. I used a bit of heat and I'm past the difficult bit. The taper is plenty strong. Done. Next up is this part. It rides against this surface here and prevents the spindle from moving forward. But there are wear marks on both sides, so I don't know how it should go on there. This is basically a gamble. Next up is the template. Then the washer I found. And then another one of those bastard screws. Ah, yeah, that's easy enough. And that's it. Done. Reassembled. How much end play do you think I need? This feels like a bit much. Let's do some measurements. I think that isn't bad for an old machine like this. That's about 3/100th without using any force. But I think it should get better when there is a bit of oil in there. That's about 1/10 of a millimeter end play. I think it's a bit much. I'll probably dial it back to 3/100th of a millimeter. Maybe even a little less. Well, that's it. Job done. And I did not forget the belt. Next video, our old friend the Allen Bradley frequency drive will make a comeback. So ears will bleed. Till then, to be continued. In the next video I'll be installing a frequency drive and a 3-phase motor.